Let's talk about Ukraine. Ukraine is a country located on the very east of Europe. Farther east. I mean on the east of Eastern Europe. No, that's Hungary. East of it. Yep, that's Ukraine, the largest country within Europe. Well, Denmark with Greenland and France with Guyana are bigger, making Ukraine third, but within Europe, Ukraine is number one. It is bounded by 7 other nations and shares its Black Sea and the Sea of Azov with 3 more states. What do you really need to know about Ukraine? Its life depends on the Dnipro river like for ages. The vein once made this land great and still serve in facing truth to the people of Ukraine. Well, we also have some Danube and some southern Bug rivers here and there, but Dnipro is the chosen one. This river is enormously large. Have you ever seen those canals in France? Forget about it, Dnipro is huge. The most part of river on its flow in Ukraine is reservoirs, so large that there are seagulls living on the shore and you cannot see the other bank as if it was the sea. Now here is what it means for country. At some point of history, long time ago, Gibraltar was captured by Damascus Caliphate. They started some reconquista over there in Europe and blocked the connection between Mediterranean and Atlantic Europes. They made some tradeways unavailable and led to Kievan Rus being risen and shown as a special river transit trade kind of one of several cornerstone states of Europe. By this time, the river Dnipro still matters a lot for people, with about 20% of population living somewhere around Dnipro, in some irrigated villages, fishing towns, hydroelectric power station settlements, port cities, some of the biggest megapolises, and even the capital city, which is called Kyiv, by the way. However, cargo ships now can be rarely seen there, due to all the dams being built, along with a complicated system of rules for using them, including multiple pay rents provided for environmental protection, ship locks, bridges span lifts, etc. So that shipping and sailing along the river have become not a profitable thing to do for trading. Dnipro splits the country in 2 parts called Left Bank and Right Bank Ukraine. You can see the left bank on the right and the right one on the left. If you ask why that is so, you'll need to simply take a boat facing straight ahead or just stand by the river flow so you can get the right perspective. Political division of country was to repeat that physical borders for like hundreds of years, but it's not so actual nowadays. Administrative subdivision of modern Ukraine includes 2 cities, 24 regions and 1 autonomous republic. Now here's a quick intro. Ukraine is a republic. Head of state is president. Parliament called Verkhovna Rada, or Supreme Council in English. Official language of country is Ukrainian, in which the word Ukraine itself means something like in country. People of Ukraine should be referred to as Ukrainians. National currency is hryvnia, controlled by Ukrainian bank. Banknotes of hryvnia feature portraits of 4 Ukrainian poets and writers, 4 ancient heads of state, and 1 war general. Ukrainian coins, called kopyki, and contain either an image of Volodymyr the Great or coat of arms of Ukraine, which is derived from the trident sign of Volodymyr the Great again. To go deeper into the geography of Ukraine, we'll answer a few more questions. First of them, what does the surface look like? As it was mentioned, Ukraine is a big country well watered with a bunch of rivers washed by 2 seas and surrounded by 10 other countries. 2 Ukrainian sea water bodies and Moldovan territories cut 2 pieces of the country, making them somewhat isolated. These are Crimea Peninsula, connected to the mainland Ukraine with Perekop Isthmus and 1 bridge on the Arabat Spit, and Budzak, connected to the rest by 1 bridge on Tsarigradske mouth, if not taking in account some roads going through Moldova. Since Ukraine is big, it has remarkable variety of landscapes. There are plains and uplands, coniferous and broadleaf forests, and we've got mountains, some bigger mountains here called Karpaty, with the highest point of country up on 2060 meters at Mount Hoverla, and some smaller ones here called Crimean. And here you can find 7 major impact craters. Ilinitsky is the oldest of them. However, it's not so interesting to visit. You cannot actually observe it, because it was like 400 million years ago. Almost nothing is left on the surface. Oh, and we got Oleshkivsky Sands, the biggest desert in Europe. Well, basically the only desert in Europe. You might notice, Ukraine still misses one thing on its surface, a volcano. But we do have one. It is tiny but active, and we gently call it Starunia. Climate also differs a lot. We got both continental and subtropical climate zones, so we can find here palms and snow and palms covered with snow, but we do not have tsunamis and tornadoes. And big scary volcanoes bursting all around. No earthquakes, well, maybe one or two, but they were small ones. So you might think Mother Earth likes Ukraine. But what is hiding beneath the ground? Coal, oil, gas, shale gas, mostly extracted by foreign companies, some metal ores, oops, wrong picture, copper, aluminum, different steels. These are good things for heavy machinery. Salt, mineral waters, mercury ores, gypsum, sulfur, and a lot more of interesting stuff. And finally, one of the main resources is extremely fertile soil, Ukrainian Chernozems. It makes plants grow, resulting in both agriculture stuff like sunflower oil, grain, cotton, flax, corn, and forest things, which means timber, paper, and matches production. That blooming life is so exciting. Let's talk about nature. There are usual pets and domestic animals and wild creatures to live in woods. Dogs, cats, bats, rats, raccoons, foxes, rabbits, deer, wild boars, Russian troops, wolves, owls, eagles, hawks, fire salamanders, Chernobyl's chupacabras, hedgehogs, pigs, ducks, turkeys. In the Black Sea there are dolphins, jellyfish, fish, and more. In the Sea of Azov there were also a great diversity of fish species, including opportunity of Ossetra roe fishery, but then somebody decided it would be a good idea to bring there a predatory red-lip mullet from the Sea of Japan, and now this is the sea filled with red-lip mullet. Still, there are also many toad gobies, mollusks, and what the hell is that? Generally, nature in Ukraine is cool. There are a lot of red-list animals and plants still alive, including Przewalski horses in Askania Nova Biosphere Reserve and a lot of others. So pets are good. What about people? Ukraine has a 45 million population. 78% identify themselves as Ukrainian. 17% are Russian and a lot of Jewish, Polish, Belarusians and Moldovan. In addition, those people are well educated, holding the country from 4th to 8th place in the world. Religion. Now things will get complicated. There are 2 different kinds of Orthodox Church in Ukraine, with 39, 29 and 14% of people. There's more, 2 types of Catholics and several more of Protestants. So Ukraine is supposed to be a very Christian country, although for majority this is just a tradition, so the real amount of non-religious people is multiple times bigger of what it seemed to be. Language. Almost everyone knows Ukrainian as their first or second language. Russian is nearly as much popular and widely spoken, so today Ukraine is close to be considered as at least bilingual country. I'll leave nuances for another video and move to what Ukrainian people's life is like. Ukraine is a country with right-hand traffic. Vehicle registration plates are not much different from EU ones, but the cheapest way to travel Ukraine is train, not a bus. Located fully in UTC+2 time zone, it uses both Soviet C1B and F plugs to power devices, and you can use credit cards to pay in cities, yet it might be difficult in small towns and villages. People use several mobile operators to communicate. All of them are GSM, Kyivstar, MTS, Live, which became international after rebranding. Now there are Vodafone and LifeCell. Other minor networks have fewer subscribers among Ukrainians than Orange, foreign operator with no even cover in Ukraine. When communicating with Ukrainians, try to check out one of the most melodic languages, and don't forget to listen to some music. Ukrainian music is great. National, classic, and pop. You'll say, pop music is all the same, but in Ukraine there are a lot of usual bands can be popular, some old forgotten genres, some alien-sounded music, and some completely original styles. This all you can find among Ukrainian singers and songwriters. In Ukrainian literature, the most famous person is Shevchenko, 19th century poet, yet many modern authors can compete. The same situation is in art and other stuff. There is interesting architecture in Ukraine. Castles and old buildings may neighbor the Soviet blocks and skyscrapers, making a contrast. National houses Mazanki are out of date now, but still can be found everywhere. But what is not out of date is national clothes. Shorts with embroidery or imitations, people can wear it even on official events. It is also not a surprise to see someone waving Ukrainian flag or hanging it out a window or painting something in national colors. People now love national and patriotic elements and what's more important, national cuisine. Борщ, вареники, деруни, налисники. Now comes some sad things. Lifestyle isn't just about culture, it also strongly depends on economics. Let's take a look on what do people do for living. Ukraine is strong in agriculture, industry and cognitive culture. It is the third world's biggest grain exporter, the first one in honey producing. Also, they build some railway carriages, harvesters, planes, ships, rockets, spacecrafts. It develops fast in all the IT sphere technologies, making researches, startups, and combines high-tech with heavy industry to produce some mega stuff like the biggest plane in the world called Mriya and the half of Chinese aircraft carriers. Nevertheless, Ukraine is the poorest country in Europe. Why so? I don't know, it's a paradox of Ukraine. We have launched more spacecraft than any other European country, yet we are the only ones in Europe not to be able to PayPal, one of those who does not have true 4G internet and our cover is poor. So does the EV charging stations network. You literally have no option to cross the country on an electric car, or any car, because that's how the roads look like. That is why I think trains are cheaper. By the way, trains are old too. They are as old as Soviet-built living blocks where people still have to live. To sum up in 2 words, Ukraine is deep. Despite all the problems with infrastructure and others, it is still full of people so different, nature so fascinating, culture so mysterious, so loud, so tasty, with so much sights, and the cool and modern are ancient like flint, and with sunrises so breathtaking. Welcome to Ukraine, my friend. And the last question, will I make some new videos about Ukraine? Oh yes, I will.